Hello, it's me Romulus, and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about Pikmin 5, a game that feels incredibly possible and real thanks to the success of Pikmin 4 and Pikmin Bloom. And yes, if you read that title correctly, you know that I'm going to be mainly focusing on Pikmin Bloom for this video. I'd like to deep dive into how I think Pikmin 5 could work from a gameplay and story perspective, as well as how it could all fit into the general timeline of the series. I think the potential for this game is insanely high, and I can't wait for it to be inevitably announced, so I'm going to talk about it now instead. But first off, I want to make something very clear from the beginning of this video. No, I do not think Pikmin 5 will be a mobile game that requires you to go outside and walk around. I just think that the next game will take a lot of inspiration from Bloom in a lot of its aspects and mechanics. But why do I think the next Pikmin game will lean so heavily into Bloom's style? Let's start with gameplay mechanics. So for those of you who may or may not know, the Pikmin series can be divided into two main gameplay styles. The first one involves you collecting special items within a set number of days, and in this style there are two ways to end the game. Collect every special item and escape the planet, or run out of time and lose the game. Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 3 are both structured like this. The other style involves collecting special items with an unlimited amount of time in order to get as much money as possible from them. There is only one way to end the game in this style: finish collecting absolutely everything in the game. Pikmin 4 and Pikmin 2 play like this. This is definitely the easier of the two styles for newer players because you aren't overwhelmed by the limited days, but I prefer style 1 more. Now, as you can imagine, Pikmin Bloom isn't really like either of these. Instead, you give your Pikmin nectar to make them grow flowers, which you then use on big flowers to get rewards. There isn't really an end goal or final main objective. Instead, you just grow as many flowers as possible and enjoy some fresh air. I don't think Pikmin 5 is going to act like that, but I also don't think Pikmin 5 is going to follow either of these main two styles either, and will instead just require you to plant as many flowers as possible. So how exactly would that look from a gameplay perspective? I believe the game would involve you collecting as much crystallized nectar as possible. You would go out into the world and find hardened balls of nectar that have been buried, eaten by creatures, or simply left out in the open. Then you would bring them back to your ship and spread flowers all over the world. Collecting all of the nectar would 100% flower the area, allowing you to move on to the next location. There would also be special nectar that would unlock new abilities for your captain, similar to Pikmin 2 and 3. Would there be caves like in 2 and 4? I don't think so. I think the game would take place entirely above ground. If caves did exist, I think they would be like the ones in Pikmin 3. I think it would just work better from a gameplay perspective too, to stay above ground. Next, I want to dive into the potential story for this new game, but before I can, I need to talk about the actual Pikmin timeline itself. As you may be aware of at this point, the Pikmin timeline has been heavily debated since the release of Pikmin 4. That game completely butchered the timeline and contradicted everything in previous games. Or did it? Let me explain. So the series starts off with Pikmin Bloom, where humans and Pikmin exist side by side. However, sometime between now and the events of Pikmin 1, a nuclear fallout happens, resulting in horrible mutations of the ecosystem. Olimar crash lands on PNF 404 and repairs his ship for the very first time. However, when he leaves, he is infected with a strange Pikmin-like virus that makes him compelled to return to the planet. He and Louie return during Pikmin 2. Then, even though both of them leave the planet in the end, they come back again during the events of Pikmin 3. When they leave for the third time, the virus once again compels them to return. This virus is also known to cause severe lapses in memory. We know this because they just straight up tell us in Pikmin 4 that the virus causes memory lapses. This makes Olimar think that this is his first trip to the planet. He finds Moss and recovers his ship parts from the failed landing. but gets turned into a leafling before he can escape. And oh yeah, Hey Pikmin is in there somewhere as well. So that is the general timeline for the games. At least how I would interpret the timeline. Most people generally agree that the lines split at the end of Pikmin 1 depending on which ending you get, with Pikmin 2 being the good ending and Pikmin 4 being the bad ending, but I'm not a huge fan of that theory because it completely ignores Moss and the new locations. I also like including this virus because it's just fun for the lore. So what is this mysterious virus that I've been talking about? This is the Pikmin 4 virus that turns characters into leaflings. We are never given a direct source for where this comes from in the game, but we do know that leaflings are infected with something that makes them obsess over Dandori. We also know that this virus can infect people through the air as well as through the onions, like we see with Olimar and Ochi. So it is entirely safe to assume that everyone on the planet is infected with this by the end of Pikmin 4. This would explain the numerous crash landings as Olimar has delivered to multiple planets throughout Hakatate Freight, and passed it along to everyone else. This would also explain why Olimar always comes back to this planet no matter how many times he tries to leave, which is exactly what we see with Ochi as well near the end of Pikmin 4. So all of this brings us to the story of Pikmin 5. What could this story look like based on everything that we know now? I have a few thoughts, and I'd like to say that this could be the most lore-heavy game in the series to date. As far as the timeline is concerned, this game would take place between the events of Pikmin Bloom and Pikmin 1 right after the nuclear fallout. Because of this nuclear fallout, all of the flowers we planted together during Pikmin Bloom would have been destroyed. This flower network would essentially be the brain of the Pikmin species. Once it is destroyed, the Pikmin would become frantic and aimless, causing them and their onions to become scattered across the planet. However, because of the radiation, intense mutations are popping up all over the planet, including in the Pikmin. These mutations would create Leafling Alpha, the dominant leader of the species. This is who we would play as during Pikmin 5. Our goal is to replant the flower network that was destroyed after Bloom and lead the Pikmin during these intense times. Replanting would also explain why the Pikmin get progressively smarter as the games have gone on, going from downright stupid in 1 to incredibly intelligent in 4. In 5, we would revert back to a little bit more stupidity on their end. Maybe not as much as we see in Pikmin 1, but not quite what we see in Pikmin 4. And that is basically the plot of Pikmin 5, or at least what I would like it to be. Now there's one big question that's on everyone's mind, and that is, why follow up on Pikmin Bloom? I think Nintendo would take the series in this direction after several different developments in the franchise. The main one being this new short that dropped on Nintendo today. On October 7th of this year, Nintendo released a new short called Close to You. This short featured a baby playing with objects that seemingly moved on their own. On October 8th, Nintendo then released another version of the short. In this version, there were dozens of Pikmin everywhere, and they were moving the objects that the baby played with. This is the first time we have directly seen humans in the Pikmin series aside from Pikmin Bloom. A lot of people were worried that this was a new direction for the series, but I disagree. I think this short takes place before the apocalypse during Pikmin Bloom. This is one reason why I think they will continue with the Bloom timeline in the next game. Another reason I think this is because of the most recent update to Pikmin 4. Recently, the game got a completely free update that added in a bunch of new features. Among these were the addition of Decor Pikmin hidden around each level. Decor Pikmin were originally a Pikmin Bloom exclusive, so seeing them added here was definitely a big shock. The update also added in a camera to take pictures of your Pikmin and the environment, another feature that is heavily pushed in Bloom. And finally, there is the Easy mode, which is basically the mode you play on to take pictures with enemies. These are the one staple of the franchise that are nowhere to be found in Bloom. Adding these into a game with a lot of other features from Pikmin Bloom basically serves as an introduction to the series, which could also explain why Pikmin 4 is so easy. Anyways, that's all I've really got to say about Pikmin 5. Obviously, none of these will definitely happen. That's just my theory for the direction this series could take in its next game. It's something I'd love to see, especially with its darker aspects. I feel like Pikmin has become a very kid-friendly and very easy series. Making a game with a harder gameplay and entirely new mechanics could really shake things up in a big way, so I hope we get something like this in the future. I also just really like Pikmin Bloom, and would love to see it get a much-deserved sequel, essentially. It makes sense after Mario Kart World was basically a sequel to Mario Kart Tour in so many different ways, while still defining itself by the fact that it's a home console game. I'd love to hear y'all's opinions on the next game, and some speculation as well. Anyways, I hope y'all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.